Have you ever been in a relationship where the other person had a lot of demons they were reluctant to face, but once you told them exactly what they needed to do to heal themselves, it worked out so well that the relationship flourished? Yeah, I'm guessing no. In fact, it was like the more you grew to love them, the more they appeared to resent you, the worse they treated you, and before you knew it, you were the one being punished for those same demons of their past. And although you are not the person who neglected them, cheated on them, or abandoned them, you are still receiving a punishment that was meant for someone else. I mean, have you ever had a moment where you became so frustrated, you exclaimed, "I am not your ex"? I have. Hello, friends. My name is Maria, and I used to have a big problem with people who were always trying to change my identity into someone who had hurt them in their past. I know firsthand it certainly doesn't help when videos that talk about how to get your avoidant ex back or how to get your ex back exploit your empathy and convince you that you're avoidant in your life. Well, they can't help their hurtful behavior. It's a trauma reaction, and they have no control. But if you're like me, and you are tired of taking the blame for the misdeeds of others, and you're beginning to think that avoidants have a lot more control over their actions than they are getting credit for, then grab a bottle of nail polish and let's talk. You know, it just kills me when I watch these videos that talk about how avoidants just can't help themselves. They do all of this bad, hurtful behavior because it's a trauma reaction. They have no control over the things that they're doing to other people. If these videos have done their job, you walk away feeling like you need to be patient, sympathetic, and highly forgiving over being treated like dirt by another human being because, hey, it's trauma. They have no control over it. But if that were true, it would mean they had no control over the loving behavior they displayed to you at the beginning of the relationship. You see, avoidants, humans, either have control of their own actions or they don't. One can't be true without the other being true. They made a choice at the beginning of the relationship to communicate with you, to act like they care about your feelings, to text you back in a timely manner, and to take you out on dates. And now they are making a choice not to do these things. I had a really crystallizing moment one day because for months I had been the only person reaching out to my avoidant ex. One of the big things that was compelling me to continue to do this was watching ex-back videos. They told me that my avoidant ex really did love me. He only left the relationship out of fear. He felt out of control, and now he needed someone strong like me to show him consistency and love and to teach him that people out there, they only want to love him for who he is. And while, yes, we all deserve people like this in our lives, it is a beautiful sentiment. The person in his life who should have been responsible for teaching him these things was his mother. I had actually known my avoidant ex and his siblings for a little while before we started dating, and I knew that his mother had been incredibly emotionally neglectful to all of her children. And he told me a couple of stories about really messed up things she did. Yeah, she definitely betrayed the mother-son relationship. And I can imagine that this would give a man issues when it came to trying to get close to women. But I'm not the person who did these things to him, and I'm not his mom. I can show him love, but it is not my responsibility to teach him love, and it's not my job to stick around and be punished for something that someone else did to him. And I want you to remember that when it comes to picking a partner, whether they have a really messed up relationship with their parents or they have a really messed up relationship with their ex. If it is something that is consistently eating them alive or they cannot stop talking about it, please remember that you cannot be someone's priority if someone else is already taking up that spot. People can come out of rough situations and they can come out on the other side better, and they can grow and change and heal and move forward. But if they cannot get off of this negative subject, they're always talking about it, or they look for excuses to continuously bring it into the conversation, the chances are they're just not there yet. This is one of the points I make in my video called 25 Years of Dating Advice, which I will go ahead and link in the description below. I have lived on this planet long enough to observe what happens to people who begin to see everyone who cares about them as the a-hole in their past. These avoidant people end up pushing everyone away. They are emotionally stuck, and oftentimes they end up very lonely. They get mad and resentful at anyone who tries to show up for them, the only people who seem to care about them. Have you ever had someone that you love compare you to an ex or a parental figure from their childhood? It is extremely distorted, and it is not reality. They don't see you for you. They see you wearing the mask of a person who came into their life long before you ever did. For example, let's say your avoidant ex grew up with a parent who was overbearing or highly critical. Now, because you're human and this is life, you are naturally going to go through harder times where you're going to need a little more support from your partner, or at least you'd really appreciate more support from your partner, and they turn around and make you feel like you're needy. And this is not needy behavior. It's completely natural. And as for men who date avoidant women, one of the biggest patterns that I hear about is the man will express his concern over the avoidant woman's behaviors because maybe she's trying to avoid her past demons by irresponsibly partying, drinking too much, making dangerous decisions. But the moment the man expresses his concern, he's met with anger, stonewalling, or told it's none of his business. But again, if they grew up with an overbearing or critical parent, then every time you express a bit more of a want to be around them, or you express concern over their dangerous, self-destructive behaviors, you are the overbearing wet blanket who doesn't understand their need for independence. And just as an aside, good, healthy relationships give you autonomy and independence. The relationship allows you the bandwidth to grow and shine and become the very best version of yourself while knowing you have someone in your corner who loves you and wants the best for you. The avoidance need for space is out of fear, and I promise you, the amount of space that you give them will never be enough. I once had an extremely avoidant man tell me, long after he had broken up with me, that he needed his freedom. And this was after, while we were dating, we were only seeing each other twice a month, and only ever at his convenience. Oh, the red flags that we miss. Obviously, first off, the fact he only wanted to get together 2 times a month. And also, I remember one time we were hanging out and I told him that I'd like to see him again the upcoming weekend, and his face almost went gray with my request. He told me he didn't know what he was doing, but he would probably be too busy with friends, and he seemed almost angry at me for wanting to spend more time with him. You could argue that these responses are more triggered reactions, and the avoidant person has absolutely no control. And while I do agree that we don't necessarily have control over things that trigger us, and we don't have control over our initial feelings, we most definitely have control of our actions. And even if it was out of fear, your avoidant is choosing to create space in these moments. Please Do not buy into these videos that tell you in these moments when they're being a jerk to you and making you feel awful or like there's something wrong with you for wanting to spend time with someone that you love, that it's important that you remain patient and let them get away with treating you however they want. They might feel like things are getting out of control, but it is not reality. And please understand that if someone is not ready to live in reality, then they're not ready to thrive in an intimate relationship. Avoidants claim they want a relationship, but if you want real, you have to be real. And only sticking it out during the good times is not being a real partner. And as for the anxious person, if you are only being loved half the time when things are good, or you're being compliant to what's convenient for them, that's not experiencing real love. We all want to bond and be loved and cherished, and that's what makes the risk so scary. We all stand to get really hurt. Anxious people and avoidant people, we all have legitimate fears, but I am telling you, we all have control of our actions. You know how I know this? Because there was a time where I believed that I could not control my anxious actions. I remember sitting down one day feeling so hopeless and helpless because I was being pushed away by a guy I really liked, and I felt like I just could not stop texting him, and it was making me feel horrible about myself, and it was making me feel really embarrassed. And I remember sitting in a chair and writing on a journal page, I will never be able to get control over myself. And that was not reality. The reality was I didn't love myself very much. And I was choosing to try and prove I was lovable through attempting to gain the attention of people who had showed me through their actions that they didn't even deserve to be in my life. Avoidants have control over their actions. And how is your avoidance showing up in your life today? Are they showing up as someone who is punishing you because they're choosing whether or not they're going to ignore your text that day? Are they someone who is punishing you by going out and they're not giving you, the person in their life, the basic respect of letting you know where they're going and who they're going out with? Are they showing up as someone who is punishing you by choosing to minimize the relationship whenever it's convenient for them? Are they showing up as someone who punishes you by choosing to have less physical intimacy? And they know how much that drives you crazy. These are not actions of a person who values you. These are actions of someone who resents your love and doesn't even find you attractive. And that's probably not even the reality. It's their own self-sabotage, which they are choosing. And that is what makes this situation so messed up. But like I said, you have choices too. And here's an example of some small choices you can make that are going to create a big change in your life. And you don't have to start by changing everything all at once. You start with one thing, you do one manageable thing the first week, and then after that you continue to add on to it. For example, you commit to yourself, this week, the change I will make is I'm not going to text my ex. You do that for a week, and then the second week you add on, okay, this week I am not going to text my ex, and I'm not going to take the route home from work where I pass their house. And then on the third week, you do those two small things and you add on, okay, this week I'm not going to peek at their social media feed, or I'm going to go ahead and take a break from their posts. As many of you know, I also started making small changes, beginning with the first change, which was instead of sitting down every morning and choosing to wish my ex a good morning text, I sat down and painted my nails. After that, I began replacing how to get my ex back videos with self-improvement videos that didn't have anything to do with an ex. How to keep a cleaner vehicle. How to save up $1,000 for an emergency fund. How to do anything that only benefits you and does not involve catering to some self-important freedom finder who's too busy ignoring you while simultaneously feeling completely entitled to your attention. Your attention, your well wishes, your cooking, your likes on their social media post, the time that you took to look so good for that selfie you publicly posted, but that you and I both know was secretly to try and reattract them. Welcome to the other half, where we know attraction is not just about looks. We also have to take care of the inner half. Because we must get to a point where we are no longer interested in punishing ourselves through sticking by someone who is well aware how much their actions hurt you. Who in your life is punishing you and getting far too much of your attention today? I'm guessing if you clicked on this video, you're the kind of person who is already too hard on yourself. You have been punished enough. There will come a day when you are no longer willing to do small things like peek on their social media or send them a "how have you been" text message. Because you have learned this person cannot be trusted not to hurt you. And when you love someone like yourself, you are no longer willing to volunteer yourself to be put into harm's way. This all comes with true self-love. If you think about it, you would never intentionally hurt an animal or a child or a friend that you love and cherish. And when you get to true self-love, all of these excuses like, oh, what could it hurt to send one little text? It's their birthday. All of that anxious energy, it fades away. Suddenly, the excuses not to have contact with these people become way more important because now you're not willing to risk things like your dignity or even things as easy as, I'm just not willing to risk messing up my own darn weekend because you love yourself. When you make the decision to commit to letting go, these avoidant, narcissistic, breadcrumbing ghosters, they no longer have the option to punish you, and they no longer get to feel in control because you have agreed to pretend like they never did anything wrong. I know that the thought of what you and your ex could have had together feels like a punishment, but the irony is, once they don't have you to emotionally push around anymore, they are the ones being punished late at night with the fantasies of what they could have had. In a strange twist of fate, these avoidant, breadcrumbing narcissists are trapped in a mental prison they built out of their need for independence, while you are off living wild and free. If this video helped you, so will this one. My name is Maria Adriana. You did not have to live my life, but I certainly hope you can learn something from it. As always, thank you for visiting. The other half.